Today we're going to do a second route from Longriggs to what I call the Junction. I want to introduce you to this sign, warning minor hazard. You'll see it quite a lot. In this case, the minor hazard that I'm highlighting. It's not anything to put you off doing the route, it's just to be wary. Now my scooter has about a 31-inch wide wheelbase at the rear. So this, because of the clumps of grass either side and the rather odd fence coming in from the right, became a rather tricky piece of navigation for me. There is a much bigger gate to the left, but it was padlocked shut. Eventually I got stuck, had to back up, go forward again. I was quite wary at this stage because the track looked fairly narrow and quite rough. And obviously these narrow walking paths, you end up with one side your wheels are up and the other side they're down. There's no kind of halfway solution. But anyway, I got onto the path and going. Quite a nice path, quite firm, the odd puddle and muddy bit. Quite a lot of rocks in the surface, but nothing horrendous at this stage. Lovely views to the right and the left of the farmland surrounding the dam. The dam is probably about a mile, a bit less than a mile ahead. But a nice path for the Vira X. And at this stage, provided you took it easy through the initial path, you'd be quite comfortable speeding along in anything described as off-road capable. Again, I'm slowing down a bit, just giving the lady time to gather in her dogs, as she seems to want to do. And I'm heading slowly down towards, I'm doing about 3-4 miles an hour at this stage. Quite pleasant though, bouncing along. It's a fairly cold September day. So I skip past, and of course a quick word. She tells me the route ahead is good, navigable, but gets narrow in places and a bit muddy. So we shall see. People's memory of routes tend to vary when you arrive at particular spots. Oh, this is nice. Rattling along. As you can see, it's a good route. At times my wheels are on the grass. A few muddy patches there. And the tyres just cut through quite easily. Now up ahead I notice the path is starting to climb, and I think this is the first point at which I noticed in patches it is indeed narrow and rockier, but a really nice track to steam along. Obviously a track that's been used by quite a lot of mountain bikes. Cows up to the left. Very rural, very pleasant. You can see from the camera that there are a lot more rocks than you can notice. I'm off the path to the left there. My wheels are hanging up on the left-hand bank to give me the room to squeeze through this narrow patch here. Just stop there to try and pick my path as much as anything, because there are rocks. These big rocks that can be as much as 6 inches proud of the ground can tilt me quite substantially, which, because it was a stroke that I suffered from, I do struggle sometimes to keep level. And you can see this path has a side slope on it periodically, but I just rattle on. My engine, which is 900 watts, is powerful enough to keep me going up hills like this. My only concern is if I was to get bogged down in some of these muddy patches. Ooh, must have got stuck there on a boulder. But round I go. You can see that, quite muddy there. An off-road scooter in parts of Scotland, even in the central belt where I am, can be much more challenging than if you were spinning along a flat gravel path on the south coast. But here we're climbing upwards. It always copes with this sort of climb really well. I don't think we're much more than 10–12% at the steepest parts, maybe a little bit more. But very pleasant. Onwards and upwards. Oh, I love this stuff. A little debate there where to put the wheels. Slow down. I mean, you can almost always get round things if you're prepared to slow down. I have a tendency to rattle along a bit fast and then regret it. But in these narrow, very rocky bits, it's interesting. There was a lot of old, like, stones. This is an old colliery area. This was probably an old colliery path. And as a consequence, a lot of the paths were paved with some sort of brick, which has all subsided or disappeared. But makes for an interesting surface nevertheless. I class this orange in my green, yellow, orange, red coding. An orange track. Enjoyable but needed care. And as you can see here, I'm probably doing 6 miles an hour for the majority of it. And now I'm reaching towards the end as it opens up. This is what I call the junction because there are 4 potential routes in this area. Left would take me on a farm track which then cuts down to the dam.